Hey there, this is Lynn. I can't say happy Monday because it's actually Tuesday. I usually do my weekly videos and my weigh-in videos on Monday, but I was so busy. We are still looking at property. We're looking to move and to buy a property that we can live on with my daughter and son-in-law. And so we were looking at 5 different properties yesterday. The one that we were originally wanting, we put an offer in, but it was not accepted. And so we're still on the hunt for properties. So I actually did my weigh-in on Tuesday. And so I'm here to talk about that. But I also want to say hello to my new subscribers. I guess I should call it the Kerry Mann effect because whenever Kerry Mann promotes my channel, I get new subscribers. So I really appreciate it. I know that Kerry put out a nice video last week talking about the like top 10 channels that he watches and that recommends, and he included mine, which was so awesome, which I so appreciate. And so I have just completed 111 weeks on the carnivore diet, and I come on here every week, and occasionally I miss a week, but usually I'm on here every week and I'm just sharing everything that's going on with my health, and this is how I record my journey. For anyone who's new, I started this journey over 2 years ago. It was in the end of May of 2023. And just to give a quick recap on where I was at with my health, I have a condition called mast cell activation syndrome and a condition called hereditary alpha tryptophanemia. They're kind of related to each other. But I had to go on medical leave from nursing in June of 2022 because I had my mast cell activation syndrome was in a massive flare, and it was worse than it had ever been, to the point where I could no longer safely work as a nurse. And I was working at home. I was no longer working in the hospital, was working in outpatient nursing in gastroenterology and hepatology. And I was getting worse and worse. But to the point where my brain stopped working and I couldn't think, my brain froze. I was slurring my words and I couldn't communicate properly. That was where I knew it was time. I was already working and pushing through my other symptoms, which were from head to toe. It was not just pain, and it was definitely pain, muscle pain and bone pain and joint pain, and but I was dealing with horrible rosacea. I had throat swelling episodes where I'd react to something. I wouldn't know what it was, but I'd get throat swelling, tachycardia, severe hypertension during those episodes. Just at baseline, I always felt like I was coming down with the flu. And I was having almost daily having heart palpitations, couldn't catch a deep breath, bladder irritability to the point where my bladder would just release its contents without notice. I'd have no control over it at all. And this was despite doing Kegel exercises. It really had nothing to do with that. It was just my bladder was so irritable. I can't even think of all of the different symptoms I was experiencing. And of course, I was morbidly obese. My top weight was probably somewhere between 350 and 360. I think I stopped weighing at 350. But by the time I started the carnivore diet, I had lost a little bit of weight. So my first weigh-in was 339.6. And so I wasn't at my top weight, but I had been less before I went on medical leave, not a lot less, but maybe 20, 30 pounds less. And then being on medical leave, not being able to do anything, all I could do was lay around. I had zero energy. The fatigue was disabling in and of itself. And then I'd get abdominal cramping. That's right. See, I forget the symptoms because I don't have any more. I get abdominal cramping, nausea, lots of dizziness, and I still sometimes deal with the dizziness. But it was just disabling, and my weight kept getting worse and worse, and I was getting harder and harder to walk because with all of the laying around, I started having back issues, and I started having a big problem with my knee, so I was limping everywhere. My feet were in so much pain. It was just, anyways, too much of a sob story. I was desperate. My husband said, "Why don't you try a carnivore diet?" And so I did. And I decided that I was going to start a YouTube channel to hold myself accountable. And I have been doing this now for over 2 years. It has completely changed my life. My mast cell activation syndrome is very well controlled. I'm not saying that my health is 100% because I still have some issues that I'm working through. And this is where I always talk about this being a journey. It's definitely a journey. It's not a light switch where you go from sick to healthy just at the flip of a switch. It is definitely a journey. And I find that in all the people I've talked to and all the people that I have met since I've become carnivore and now dealing with, working with Healing Humanity, everybody's journey is a little bit unique. And so I share from my own experience what I have experienced on the carnivore diet. Now, I had to do the lion diet, a low histamine lion diet, for at least a year. It was probably about a year before I felt comfortable enough to start testing some other things. I really saw my rosacea turn a corner when I started doing the lion diet. That was maybe about 4 months or so into my journey. I immediately noticed a decrease in inflammation, the body pain, and I noticed that my gut felt better. I wasn't bloated anymore. And so the gut and the inflammation symptoms definitely improved very quickly as far as how it felt. But I know I had more gut healing because my skin was still not where it needed to be. And so the lion diet really helped me a lot. And making sure everything was low histamine was super important because with mast cell activation syndrome, histamine is an issue. And I had to drain my histamine bucket. And so I still have to be very cognizant and aware of how much histamine I'm exposed to. So I can now eat bacon and eggs. I can now actually have some smoked meat and it doesn't really cause me a problem. But if I do too much, then I start having issues again. I start having some gut issues and I start sometimes having heart palpitations again. So I do have to be careful. And I know when I started my journey and even into my journey, maybe 6 months a year, I had people asking me, do you think that carnivore diet can actually cure mast cell activation syndrome? And so over 2 years into it, I still can see that I am sensitive. I have those sensitivities. And even though I'm not going to the ER anymore with anaphylactic reactions, I haven't had to take my rescue meds for so long, I am not immune to histamine. And so I have to just be really careful. Heat is a huge factor for me. And it used to be that I couldn't even be in the kitchen if anything was being cooked. I couldn't because of the heat. And just from a skillet on the stove, I couldn't, it was too much. It would create an anaphylactic reaction for me. I couldn't do dishes where the water was running hot. I definitely couldn't take a hot shower because I would come to the point where I would almost pass out. I'd have to sit down in the shower. I'd get so dizzy. And so I'm so much better. I can handle the heat so much better now. Not perfect, but I can tolerate it more like a normal person. I can actually be in the kitchen cooking over the stove. I can do dishes. My showers are no longer lukewarm. They're kind of medium. I can even do a little bit on the hot side, but not too bad. It's just more like a medium, but so much better. So anyways, that's kind of like where my journey has taken me. I'm just doing so much better with my health. My weight is still coming off. It's slower now than it used to be. I used to be losing pretty steadily, and now it's a lot slower, but I'm definitely getting there. So I just definitely want to thank Kerry for promoting my channel. I really, really appreciate new subscribers, and I just try to share what's going on in my life and try to encourage people to try the carnivore diet. As a nurse, I did not even realize that it was more than just weight loss. In fact, I had never heard of it before. And when I first heard of it, I thought that it was all about weight loss. And I did do it for about 6 weeks and lost a little bit of weight, but then I stopped. And that was back in, I think, 2022 or no, 2021 maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it was 2021. But I didn't realize that this was such a healing diet. And I don't know, I should have, because I know the ketogenic diet is a therapeutic diet and it's a healing diet, but I didn't even think that the carnivore diet was such a healing diet. And now I know this isn't just about weight loss, and my primary motivation was not weight loss. Um, but now I know that it is about healing. And so it's pretty amazing what it can do to heal what's going on with you. And so, anyways, I want to thank Kerry. He's awesome. And so let's see. Let me just see. So this week, I actually quit coffee again. I had been having issues with some dizziness. Now it is summertime, so I do struggle a little more in the summertime. But I've been having some issues with dizziness, not getting enough fluid. But I was thinking maybe the coffee was causing some problems and more sinus issues than usual. And I was putting a little bit of cream in it. I cannot drink black coffee. I just can't. I don't like it. And so my thought is, well, I must like the cream better than I like the coffee, and I probably shouldn't be doing that either. So I stopped the coffee again, and I think it's helping. So I may be one of those people that has to either really limit coffee or completely avoid it. I had stopped coffee before, and then I was doing it just like once a week at church. And then I started doing it every day for a while again. It's been maybe a month of doing it every day, and now I'm having symptoms again. So I don't know. I think maybe coffee might be something I only have to do occasionally, not all the time. Another thing that I've done, and this is all just kind of experimenting to see what makes me feel better, and that is I am taking not 100% supplement break, but I'm taking a break from some of the supplements. So I was taking a multi, I was taking vitamin D, I was taking magnesium. I've stopped taking those. I do have some supplements that I take for my mast activation syndrome. One of them is called homocysteine supreme. Now, this is also because I have the MTHFR variant, and that genetic variant makes it so that my body doesn't break down homocysteine properly. So my homocysteine levels are elevated. So my naturopathic doctor put me on something called homocysteine supreme, which is good because it helps the methylation process, breaking down in these vitamins that I need. It includes a lot of the B vitamins in the right form that I need, and which also helps me detoxify from mycotoxins, which I have tested positive for twice already. They're getting better, but she has me taking something called Safe Cell, which is a good version of a glutathione, which is also good for detoxing molds or mycotoxins. So I'm still taking those. I find that I feel better when I take those. So that's good. So I would say over the past week with these changes that I've made, I am having less and less of these issues with the dizziness. And it's probably the orthostatic intolerance which is flared up, because that's what happens. I have orthostatic intolerance, so if I stand for too long, I'll feel like a drop in my blood pressure. And that's what I'm feeling. I'm feeling this like symptoms in my head. It kind of sets my equilibrium off, but I think it's maybe a drop in my blood pressure. And so, because when I'm sitting, I'm fine. And when I'm walking around, I'm fine. It's only when I'm standing that I end up having this happen. So trying to increase the water. I have these, this is a liter. I'm trying to get 3 of them a day. I struggle. It's all those years of having the bladder problems. I think that I got out of the habit of drinking water. So anyways, let's see. Oh, I've also been using my vibration plate more, which has been helpful. And I have been going out and spending time in the sun. So I'm not taking my vitamin D right now, but I am going out into the sun and trying to get it naturally. So anyways, overall, I feel like all of these things that I've done this past week has been helping, and I am feeling like I'm on the upswing. I really wore myself out when Adam and Kerry were here filming me for the documentary, and I was trying to do Coach Lisa's exercise program. I just overdid it. I have to remember I had 55 years of poor health and poor eating and very sedentary lifestyle. So at 57, I'm only 2 years in to trying to get healthy. So I have to keep reminding myself, I have to pace myself. I can't overdo it. And I tend to overdo it. Like I'll feel good. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I feel good. I can do so much more. And then I overdo it. So frustrating. But anyways, I'm backing off. I'm trying to get walks and ease back into the exercise. So, wanted to give an update too. I reached out to Lindy because I know her and I were doing our fitness challenges together. She's actually going through a bit of a rough time, so please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. But she is determined to get back into the swing of things. So we're just taking a hiatus right now, and I'm there to support her and encourage her. And so I know some of you have been asking me about, doing the chair workout with Coach Lisa and Lindy. And so hopefully we'll be able to get that done. But I want to show her some grace and make sure that I give her support as a friend. And, we all go through times where we're having it rough. And so no judgment at all from me. Like we're all humans. And we need to show each other grace, especially in this world that doesn't do that a lot. Okay, so let's get to my results for this past week. So I weighed in this morning at 208 even. So that is just a little bit down from last week. So not a lot, but a little bit. And again, my weight's been kind of creeping down. And, but I'm happy because it's not creeping up. And so I look at my fat-free body weight as well. That did not change at all this week. So that's the other tissue other than fat. So bone and muscle and fluids and everything, that didn't change this week. And it's been pretty steady lately. So that means that the entire scale loss of 0.4 pounds was fat. There was no muscle gain, muscle loss, nothing like that would be influencing the numbers. So the entire 0.4 was scale. So overall, since I started weighing in, my scale loss is 131.6 pounds. Since I have gained 25.4 pounds of good tissue. Now, most of that was in the first maybe 8 months or so. I was gaining muscle from eating all the protein. I gained bone. So I've gained 25.4 pounds of actual good tissue. So that's fantastic. So my total actual fat loss is 157 pounds. That's like a little more than I weighed in high school. So I've gained a whole teenager, or I've lost a whole teenager, I should say. So I've gained 24.2 pounds of muscle, 1.6 pounds of bone. So the difference as far as between that and the 25.4 is fluid. So it's down a little bit as far as fluid by 0.4. So, which is the same as last week. So overall, since the very beginning, as far as fluid, I've pretty much stayed pretty steady. Haven't really, it fluctuates a little bit, but I haven't really gained or lost a whole lot of fluid. So anyways, I'm pretty happy. That's the results from this week. I'm going to continue to stay off of the coffee, and because obviously that seems to help me, and I'm going to, for now, continue my supplement break. And yeah, so then next week, let me just look at my calendar real quick. So maybe it's going to be the 16th. I got the date wrong. Anyways, next week is when we're supposed to start our Keto Study Club again. And we have a new member because Nurse Kim could no longer do it, which I mentioned last week. And so stay tuned. We are going to be getting going again. For those of you who are total science nerds, this is where we study and go through the ketogenic textbook. Okay, this book right here. It is a medical textbook, and it's not easy, but we have been going through, we're on chapter 3, and we read and discuss during the live stream. It's not like a book club where we read ahead. So if you're interested in something like that, we're going to be still dealing with 2 nurses, because, Nurse Kim was a second nurse on the call. So we have another nurse coming on, and Kerry from my Metamorphosis, who is a data analyst. So we've got 3 left brain people trying to understand this stuff, and we get off on all these tangents with discussing all sorts of stuff, but it's fun. So we're really looking forward to welcoming our new member, and I'm not going to announce who it is. You'll see when I actually schedule it. And sorry, my screen just died. But anyways, you will see when I schedule it, we'll have a new thumbnail and our new member will be there. So anyways, this ended up being a little longer than I was anticipating, but I hope everyone is having an absolutely wonderful day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.